So welcome to the workshop on modularity and industrialization building envelope kits. I'm Maria Sara Di Maggio. I'm a building physics engineer, and today we'll go through modularity and circularity in projects. And we'll start from an introduction from Peter on this cluster project for today. Then we'll have a short presentation from each project joining this workshop. We'll then start the actual workshop session, part 1, on the I will go to this slide on the barriers and challenges of the deep renovation retrofits. And then we'll, after a short break, we'll move into how we can overcome these barriers and challenges and try to frame a sort of roadmap to
It's called second generation deep renovation projects. And in fact, it are projects from 3 different calls. There are 3 projects from the EEB for 2020 call, the call on industrialization of building envelope kits for the renovation markets, Infinite, PLURAL, and ENSNARE. We have 2 projects from the EE1 2019 call, Drive Zero and StepUp. And we have a little bit older project that is now in the last year. That's the ProGETonE project. So I'm not going to go so far in this abstract, but in fact, what is important is that we identified 2 key issues that are very important and crucial to accelerate the deep renovation. That's modularity and Industry 4.0 industrialization. And all these projects deal somehow with this topic. What we try to do now is that we try to map our common challenges, but also the specific challenges per project, to see also the propositions that we have, and also to see what kind of barriers we have, because all our projects are facing and engaging disruptive technologies, for example, on circularity or new industrial ways of deep renovation, prefabrication, and the market is still traditional. So we try to identify in this workshop the challenges, the barriers. This is something that we do in the first part, and then in the second part, we try to discuss about possible solutions for that, how we think the solution should be, what actions should be taken, and also what recommendations we can give, especially to the European Commission. And this is also one of the intended results, and I think this is very important, is that we try to come to a kind of what we call a white paper on these barriers that we face and the way how we think that it should be solved and how we can come to some policy recommendations. That's all what I want to say about this workshop. We did quite some preparations on it, so I think that we all know the challenges of this workshop itself. So what we do is we start now with short pitches of the projects, and very unpolitely I start with my own project, and I ask my beloved colleague Anna to give a pitch on Drive Zero. Anna, can you hear us? It seems that we again have an audio issue. We cannot hear you.
Anna, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I had the same problem. If you refresh your browser a couple of times, then you are able to reset the settings.
We can hear you very well and clearly, John.
Yeah. So if you refresh your browser a couple of times, You are also resetting the mic and video settings, and that worked in my case.
Once you try to refresh it, Anna, just give us a sign, and we'll start with the presentation. Because before we could hear you, so. Not yet.
Hello?
Yes. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. I give you the floor, Anna. So.
Okay, thank you so much, and sorry for these technical issues. I think I'm just gonna keep my camera for now off.
Yeah.
Yes. So, hello everyone. Yes, so I'm Anna Tiso, and together with Peter, we are the coordinators from Hagen side of the project called Drive Zero. It's a project that was funded within the EU One Call, where they were looking for innovative solutions and approaches leading to the decarbonization of the EU building stock. And we saw an opportunity for our project idea by looking into innovative solutions that allow for transformation of the current built environment towards more circular one. And the project started in 2019, and it will last until 2023. So it's a 4-year-long project. Maria Sara, if you go to the next slide, where where our Drive Zero aim was to take the current market-ready renovation products and concepts, and mostly here we focused on the solutions on a proven technology that were developed in previous Horizon 2020 projects, such as from MoreConnect, from ProGETonE. And what we try to is to look on how can we transform these technologies into more circular one. So next one, please. So what we focused on, two more, please, Maria Sara. So what we are looking at is on local availability, so the concept of urban mining. What do we have in the local context so that we don't import something from far away, but rather look what we have in the existing building stock. Then more focus and emphasis on bio-based materials with lower embodied energy. And of course, emphasis on more modular and plug-and-play solutions that allow for design for disassembly and recycling at the end of the life cycle or end of life of these components. And of course, to speed up the process by automated BIM production processes. Furthermore than just focusing on technologies, we are also, of course, looking at the business model, because we know that at the moment the conventional business cases are still more attractive than circular economy business models. So we are seeing how can we overcome the current barriers, and this is something we're going to speak today in the later stage. Next one, please, Maria Sara. And then also, how can we take into account occupants by providing them information about the benefits of those circular solutions in them understandable way. And in the end, we are, of course, testing our approach and our technologies in 7 different study cases in different European member states in 7 countries, which are initiated. So we are looking at local drivers, so what's driving circular renovations in these particular countries and regions. Next one, please. So our main aim is really to follow the definition of circular renovation, which what we see as the ultimate goal, which at the moment it's still not the case, but that the circular deep renovation would be really based on pure renewable energy, where all the materials used within the system boundaries are part of infinite technical or biological cycles with lowest quality losses possible. So that we don't talk only about one cycle, but that we really talk about multiple or ideally about infinite cycles. Next one. Yes, so as I mentioned, we take existing market-ready solutions. In the Netherlands, we have Webo scaffold freeze facade, we have Timbeco prefab panels from Estonia, we have Factory Zero compact HVAC engine, We have Aliva's aluminum facade panels. And next one. And we have Knauf insulation with bio-based binder as technology. So we are taking these solutions that are market ready and seeing how we can make them more circular by using different materials or changing the design principles or business models. Next one, please. So these are just some examples. So this is, for example, where we are looking on how to go from the conventional deep renovation process to a circular deep renovation process, and what kind of actions we have to perform for a renovation process to be circular. Next one. This is just another example, and I'm happy that Sean is here because this is referring to their demonstration pilot and their work at Zuid. So for example, here it's an example of urban mining in the case of the Netherlands, where urban mining is possible, or there are a lot of local materials available from the material banks. Next one, please, Maria Sara. Yeah, and as I mentioned, we have 7 different pilot cases with completely different context, and looking really at what drives circular renovation in this context. Next one, please. And then as a last slide, yeah, we identify already, we just had on Monday of our first project review meeting with CINEA, project advisor and external experts, and this is something we also communicated and discussed already. So what we see at the moment, there are quite some legal and regulatory barriers due to rigid building regulations and guarantees. As you can imagine, like applying circular components or materials and complying with the current building standards, it's a bit difficult because a lot of times, how can you prove that the recycled, for example, mineral wool has the same characteristics as a new one? And there is also what was, I don't know if it's surprising, but I think it's rather interesting, the lack of interest in circular modular building solutions. So there is quite some resistance from homeowners to really decide for these circular components because, of course, they don't trust that something that has been recycled, that it will maintain its characteristics for next 20 or 50 years, depends on the life of the component. And then the other challenges, of course, there are quite some financial, legal, and operational risks in circular business models compared to conventional ones, and also the challenges in relationship in this new value chain creation when it comes to circular businesses. And another one, it's about the low market price of virgin materials compared to recycled materials, and also the taxation of labor is more expensive. So basically recycling components is more expensive than producing new ones. Thank you so much. That would be in short. Sorry again for my delay and my disruption. I hope you could hear me now.
Thank you very much, Anna.
Thank you.
Here, and I think we will come back to some of the challenges you mentioned about lack of attention also from the users of a modular system. But for now, let's move on with the StepUp project, and I will ask Julia to present her slides on StepUp.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Maria, for the introduction. I'm the coordinator of the StepUp project, and StepUp is the sister project of DryZero. We're funded in the same topic, in the same call, and we took quite different approaches, which is interesting to the question. For us, the focus was to look at cost-effective, reliable solutions that could be used for decarbonizations, and very close to market as far as possible, and things that we could easily and quickly deploy and bring together. So for us, market transformation is the core topic. So if we go into the next slide, just yeah. So for the work that we're doing focuses. Oops. There you go. Yeah, you can see the present. It's, yes. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so the work we're doing is to identify technologies and develop technologies that are cost effective, and to make the investment reliable an attractive investment. So that means de-risking the investment into renovation. So that entails a new process for deep renovation. We're rooting it a lot into past experience and to past existing methodologies and so on. The aim is to minimize the performance gap, which is something that, of course, introduces a very high level of risk and uncertainty in the investment. So that then when a renovation is initiated, that investment has a high value. The user actually sees, the owner of the building sees a value for their investment. So this we do through iterations and feedback loops. We do it through stepped renovation approach, iterative approach, and a lot of data insights. So that's what we're looking at. At high level, we're testing these solutions. You can go to the next slide, please. In 3 types of buildings. So we're looking at public non-residential. So we have a kindergarten in Hungary that's extremely representative of the type of public building that desperately needs renovation. And we have a private tower, apartment tower in Spain that will be renovated. So for both of these, we're expecting the renovations to start later in 2022. We're at the stage of producing the technologies for them right now. We have a virtual pilot in the UK. It's a Helix building. It's our headquarters, IES's headquarters. Which is a rental office. So in that case, we have the split incentive of the owner and the tenant to explore. So if we go to the next slide, the technologies that, sorry, can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So the solutions that we're focusing on are a plug-and-play envelope system. It's a pre-assembled envelope panel. You can see a recent picture from the mock-up that we're developing in Spain right now. That can integrate with the heating systems, the technical systems, and the smart heat solution that is a thermal energy production and storage solution that will be optimized based on the demand of the building. Then we also have, as part of the solutions, of course, we also have energy performance contracting, again, to monitor and manage the investment, and software tools that accompany the building throughout its life. But I think for today, the focus is more on the technologies, the plug and play technologies. So go to the next slide, please. So the high level objectives, what we want to do through this is to increase the attractiveness and reliability of renovation. Reducing the performance gap for us is going to be critical, and have new financial models, innovative financial models for the investment. For the time on site is, of course, a big one that we're looking at. And lastly, the one that brings me to the main challenges that we have is the market. So accelerating the renovation market for us is core. So once we have, made renovation more attractive, like more reliable, it's going to be easier to know how the performance will be. It's going to be easier to finance. It's going to be shorter in time. Then the market needs transforming, and that's why we're looking at interoperability, and we're looking at clustering and third-party market. So this brings me to the next slide, please. And these are the 2 challenges that we bring today to this workshop: are how do we set up an open environment of technical specification? We want an open market of products that can work together, and for this we're working on a plug and play protocol, so which is intended like a web protocol. It's a common language that technology providers could follow to develop their products to be intercompatible and interoperable. And to do this and test this and develop it, we're fostering these clusters of technology providers, one in Spain and one in Italy, who are actually testing that integration. They're sharing their knowledge and working together to go to market with compatible products. So that's it for me.
Thank you very much, Julia. That was very interesting, and I think also for the plug and play solution interoperability, we will hear from you during the session. in the first part of the session. Now we'll move into the next project, ProGETonE, but we'll ask Anastasia to share her slides. For a technical issue, it's so I can access the platform. So if Anastasia, can you share the slides about your project? We cannot hear her.
I don't think she is among presenters.
Okay, then let's see.
She was asking for access 17 minutes ago.
How can we let her in? Because I don't have any options to allow her in the project.
She is in the session, but she's at least listed. So I think she can hear us, but I don't think she is listed as one of the presenters.
Is this something we can ask the technical issue? Abbiamo un problema con un attendee che non riesce a entrare. Sì.
Yeah, she texted.
She's registered, I suppose. So dovrebbe essere registrata, ma non riesce a entrare e deve presentare le sue slide.
Maria Sara, she proposes if you move to a next project until this is resolved.
Vediamo. If you can try now, Anastasia. Ma lei non può. There is no option, non ha un'opzione per condividerlo. Non è molto. E come può fare? It's no option for me. Okay, let's move to the next project for now, and then Anastasia will get back to you. Maybe if you can try to reach the technical people in the chat, and then we see at the end of the project if we can get back to your presentation. But you cannot also use the audio. No, non può neanche usare l'audio, quindi è un po' strano. Then we move to Infinite. Stefano?
Yes. Hi all. Do you hear me?
Yes. Can you share your slide, please?
I do. Okay. So share screen.
Yes.
Okay. Do you see?
We see it. You need to put in presentation mode and then.
Okay. So I open this one and I launch it. Please tell me if you see.
Yeah, we see it.
Okay. So hi all, and thanks Maria Sara and Peter for the organization. I will present you briefly the Infinite project. And I start with this motto. So we want to, of course, boost renovation. And we want to do it through what we have called Renovation 4.0 approach. And so with Infinite, we want to work on building envelopes, retrofitting solutions with integration in the building envelope and interconnected technologies. We are 19 partners from overall Europe, and we will rely also on free real demo building and a network of 6 virtual demo. The overall scope of Infinite is to really increase the market penetration of industrialized all-in-one envelope system, remembering the target of NZEB, so near zero energy building after the renovation. And also, as Peter was mentioning, of course, we are in the challenging of building upon first generation of projects to a second generation of, let's say, industrialized prefabricated solutions serving specifically the retrofit of residential buildings. I already mentioned this renovation 4.0, which is basically mixing the topic of industry, digital, and reliable, sound, business-based solutions. So what we're going to do is to demonstrate technologies, business model, boosting really the adoption in the real market. And what I like a lot of the project is the idea that we want to also understand where and how this approach could make success in the real market. So probably such kind of solution also specific market within the overall renovation market. So here the objectives, I will not go so much into detail, but working on the side of tools, we want to enable easier management of the retrofit. We take care a lot of cost effective and low carbon as a keywords in this performance check. Of course, we want to increase the market appeal of technologies which are already existing. And some peculiarities of the project is to work on demand side as well. So building stock, let's say, and stakeholders that plays a role in something which is quite new as the new value chain of industrialized retrofit. And of course, the idea that with demonstration we can really build up a consensus and enlarge the, let's say, the stakeholders network around this topic. We are working since 1 year now, and we're working on technologies, as I said. So these timber-based prefab envelopes, which integrates different kind of solutions, and we want to be really life cycle driven and using industrial approach. And we will work also on a BMS system, which want to take the challenge of being really stakeholder-centered and interoperable. So let's say as much connected with the different kind of tools as possible. And as you see in the center, the stakeholders engagement, we run a lot of activities in the first year of project. And then we want to support all the stakeholders with the platform and a series of calculation plugins. We have called it beam-based platform and plugins. And so let's say that for technologies and tools, of course, the work is pretty much at the beginning. Last part will be more on business and exploitation and a demonstration for which we are working already, but of course activities will come in the future. I've tried to summarize in this last slide which are the challenges and the barriers. On the right, you see different colors and are, let's say, the keywords that characterize the Infinite project. And I think that the yellow one are the one more, let's say, that sounds more like challenges and barrier up to now from our experience in the project. So from the one side, it is really difficult to work with the technologies and create in the value chain all what is the topic of assuring warranties, guarantees in the market, in the real market. And of course, demo owner, of course, need this extremely clear now. And the other very much barrier and challenge that we are facing is about cost reduction and co-benefits evaluation. So we are facing the topic that probably the benchmarking of traditional retrofit and the, let's say, new industrialized one is basically unfair and is not probably completely correct. And so all the topic of co-benefits plays really a major role on that. I hope that was quite quick and clear, and I stop sharing and thank you.
Thank you very much, Stefano. We'll move now to the next presentation. I think Anastasia, since we finally managed to access you in.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Do you mind
Okay,
sharing your
great. Thank
slides?
you.
And, great.
Yeah, no worries. Let me try. Okay. Can you see?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So the project is called ProGETONE. I think, as Peter said, we are the oldest one in the group here. We're about to finish. It's the last year of the project. We have 13 partners, and UNIBO, the University of Bologna, is coordinating. Is one of the projects that we are collaborating with Hagen as well. The title is Practical Synergy of Integrated Efficient Technologies on Buildings Envelope, so more or less the same problems that we are all dealing with. When we started from, the project main idea was based on the innovation of the integration in technologies to achieve a multi-benefit approach among energy and non-energy related benefits. So the project aims in combining the same integrated system, the highest performance in energy requirements, safety, and social sustainability. So having these three main pillars integrated together in one system. Regarding the energy requirements, the idea is to add to the existing or substituting to the existing facade new prefab plug-and-play energy performing envelopes with a combination of HVAC systems. Regarding the safety, the idea is to use this external exoskeleton, which is a structure to increase the overall capacity, structural capacity of the building, supporting these new envelopes, the abacos, as we call it, that we are going to integrate by adding additional spaces, living spaces, and having this idea of the social sustainability. So through these customized and tailored solutions, having a co-design idea with the users and the owners, trying to have these extra spaces with having the minimum disturbance for the inhabitants, so working from the external part of the building. In this way, we increase the desirability and then real estate value of the existing buildings. So as we call it, the innovation and the ambition of this project, as we call it, is to create this GET system. So you have to get it in order to have these three pillars benefits. It's the system, as we said, of the integrated efficient technologies, increasing the envelope performance of the building, the structural capacity, and it creates this social attractiveness from the architectural point of view. As we said, this exoskeleton will host these external spaces, the abacus, where we will have the GET, which will be equipped with several installation plugs and plug-and-play solutions. As I said, the social inclusion is the part of the co-design process, and we have this application that it's going to be online in almost a month, where the users can have a choice of various materials, or the choice they would like for this extra space, which could be among the balcony, a sun space, or an extra room. And there could be a variation in the facade, and each one can see the capacity and the performance of each solution, so they can choose in analogy of their needs and their expectations. We have a real pilot case in Athens and two virtual ones in Italy and in Brasov. The one in Athens is a dormitory, a student house. So this is the situation as it is now. And by adding this exoskeleton in the extra spaces, we have extra living space for the students. This is the view from the external and from the internal. So how we have this desirability from the external, from the architectural point of view, and the social inclusiveness, how they feel from the internal part. Some remarks of the project is that by increasing this desirability of the transformation, we stimulate the excellence in energy performance up to the ambitions of nearly zero energy building targets in the most inefficient buildings of the modernity, which is the majority of the buildings in Europe. And we tend to overcome the limitation of indoor space and add new quality for indoor personal and professional activities. Very important also now, as we have seen during the pandemic period. Unfortunately, as for all the innovation processes and the innovation strategies we all have in mind in the projects, we have faced a lot of barriers. Two of the main is the lack of legislative flexibility. So we have to see how to overcome this compliance with the local regulations. And for this kind of exoskeleton and integrated technologies on the facade with the extension, we have a limited market because we cannot use it, for example, to historical buildings and other kind of restricted architectural listed buildings, let's say. Some of the main challenges, it's how to overcome these higher costs that the solution creates, but in contrarium with the less time. So we compromise these more expensive solutions with the added value of the extra living space and the less disturbing procedures by constructing it in less time than a traditional, let's say, reformation from the internal point of view. And another one is the integrated technologies and the prefab plug-and-play components in order to see how we can interact these facade extensions with new HVAC systems, that they are all collaborate together, and the existing centralized heating and cooling system. So that's it for me. I hope I was fast.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Anastasia, you hit the time.
Yeah,
I see some of your challenges already kind of very similar to Infinite and other projects. So
yes.
we'll discuss this better later on. And so now I will give the floor to Maria Fonti for the PLURAL projects. Maria, can you share your presentation?
I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
And you can see my presentation. Is it so?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So I'm going to present the PLURAL project, which started, as you can see, 1 year ago, and it's a 4-year project with 18 partners. Our approach in the project is slightly different from the rest of the partners. I hope you can still see my screen.
Yes, if you can put it in presentation mode, that would
Yes, okay. I changed it because it didn't work. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we still do.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Our aim is to design a range of versatile, adaptable, off-site prefabricated plug-and-play solutions for deep renovation of existing buildings that have very poor or no insulation at all, which take into account the user requirements by integrating control and energy systems based on renewable energy sources. For this reason, we have paraphrased the word plug and play, and we call our kits plug and use kits, or in other words, PNU kits. So in the frame of the project, we are developing a range of solutions which are combining renewable energy sources with environmentally friendly materials, nature-based materials, and storage solutions. So I hope you can still see my presentation.
No, it's you're not sharing anymore.
Okay, let me go back to it. Can you see now? Hello?
Not yet.
Technology is not helping us today.
Definitely not.
Okay, so what about now?
No, but I think maybe I can. It's coming, yes.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so the concept development, we start by defining a range of key performance indicators that account for technological, economic, environmental, and social impact of the project. Based on these KPIs and the development of the PNU kits for which you can see some pictures here. We proceed into the testing of the technologies, and in parallel, we develop information technology tools, a platform where we can, it's a BIM-based platform which takes into account the technological developments as well as the building characteristics, and it is supported by a decision support tool which we call Modest. The project also takes into account all the manufacturing procedures with the aim to minimize the time for the manufacturing of the prefabricated kits, as well as to automate the manufacturing procedure, taking into account the outcome of the design and decision support platforms. Finally, the technologies are validated in 3 real demo cases and in 3 what we call virtual demonstration sites. Virtual meaning that we will implement the technologies via computational tools and assess the end target, which is to reach the NZEB status. So the 3 core technologies that we develop in the project is the so-called smart wall. You can see a picture here on the right-hand side, is a prefabricated solution that incorporates a fan coil and a toolbox to control the performance of the fan coil, in addition taking into account the indoor conditions. The external wall heating and cooling, which, as you can see from the picture, is a solution that takes that incorporates heating and cooling pipes that are introduced in the prefabricated module and attached to the existing facade of the building. And last but not least, the air handling, air heating and cooling system, which is also a prefabricated solution, which is combined with already marketed prefabricated facades, and it takes into it incorporates heat exchangers in combination with thermoelectric modules. All 3 solutions are powered by PVs and solar thermal systems. The PVs are either introduced in the facade of the buildings or in the roof of the buildings and used to drive heat pumps. As I said before, we use a variety of nature-based and environmentally friendly materials, like timber facades, for instance, or cellulose solutions for the insulation. We use 3D printed structural elements to solve the installation and attachment problems, low e-coating films to control lighting, multifunctional coatings, and of course the monitoring is performed by sensors that are...
Maria, I will ask you to be a bit more concise.
Okay, so here are the solutions and the buildings. Let's go on to the key barriers and challenges. Although we are in the first year of the project, we have identified 2 key barriers that might prohibit the implementation of our solutions in the market. The first one is the lack of knowledge about this type of second-generation solutions by key stakeholders. The lack of knowledge dictates that the market demand for this type of solution is very low, and as a result of the low market demand, the need for compliance with local and EU regulations is still not addressed. And last but not least, the lack of knowledge by the key stakeholders dictates also that there is not enough training taking place for stakeholders and companies to implement such solutions. Another key barrier is the compatibility of technologies, specifically for this second generation of prefabricated solutions, where we have to find ways to match the environmentally friendly facade solutions with the renewable energy source requirements and capabilities. Linked to these two barriers are the challenges. Of course, the first challenge would be to train the key stakeholders to overcome the gap of knowledge. And this can be done through demo projects or national motivation policies. And the compatibility of technologies, we hope, will be adequately addressed by the development of assessment tools like the platforms and the decision support tools, the design tools that we are already developing in the frame of the project. So you can also find us in the social media, and you can contact me for any further information. So thank you, and apologies for the confusion in the presentation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Maria. We can now move then to the next project, last project, which is ENSNARE, and Peru will present the...
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, maybe a bit louder, please.
Yes, now can you hear me?
Yeah, better.
Okay, I will share my screen. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thanks. Okay, hello. My name is ProGETONE.
Peru, we don't hear you, so Peru.
We don't hear you very well. Maybe, yeah, maybe don't use the video. I'm not sure if you're doing it, just the audio.
Sharing differently. Now can you hear me properly?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, let's try this way.
Your voice is trembling, it's not very sharp. Can you maybe put off your video for one moment? Maybe we'll go better.
Now, can you hear me better? Not.
Not really. I could, yeah. Let's try that.
We'll try
to refresh my browser as I mentioned before and try again.
No, we cannot hear you well, so I will share my screens and the slides, and we'll hear your voice on top of it. So maybe it will be smoother.
Okay, if I don't share my screen, you can hear me correctly.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes. Okay.
That's why. So let me go to your slides. Here. And I think everyone can see the slide in a moment.
Yes. Yes, I can see it. Okay, should I start?
Yes, please.
Okay, so thank you very much. And sorry for these last minute issues. My name is Peru Bequezabal. I'm from Italia, and I'm here as the coordinator of ENSNARE project. ENSNARE stands for Envelope Mesh and Digital Framework for Building Renovation. So if you go past the next one. Can you pass the slide? This, yes.
Yeah, we still don't hear you very well. Let's give it another try.
You can hear me now?
Maria Sara, we hear you very far, Maria Sara, actually.
Yes, myself as well. Yeah, but can you try to speak on the slide now? Let's see if it goes better.
Yes, we did not hear you. Can you repeat it?
Yes, please go ahead with the presentation.
Okay. Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So now if I speak, you can properly hear me or not that well?
No, it's not a good connection, so maybe we can try later with this presentation, Peter, because it's we cannot hear you well, so it's wouldn't be good enough
Okay.
for to understand your part. So let's go ahead with the rest of the schedule, and then we come back after the break to your presentation. Let's do that. So maybe in the meantime you can resolve the connection.
Okay.
So yeah, thank you, Perun. We'll hear from you later. So now that we had almost the whole spectrum of projects, but as ENSNARE, we will start with the workshop part. We have scheduled a first part to be about the challenges and barrier of the deep renovation. So all these key issues you have encountered in your projects, we will address them in a workshop in Miraboard. And please make sure you have access to that platform. But before going into the mirror board, we have some teaser pitch from two colleagues of us. So first from John Orshcott. And John, I give you the word. I will share the slides so you can take the word now.
Yeah, thank you, Maria Sara. Yeah, you already see the slides. Well, this is me, John Orschot. I am working in the Netherlands for the Zuid University of Applied Sciences, and I'm also one of the co-authors of the research proposal of Drive Zero. And you can turn to the next slide. Yeah, I have a background in circularity and also in modularity. I published some work about it. And in general, all our projects and all my work is focused on the development and dissemination to create a vital, circular, and energy positive built environment. And we really believe that modular technologies are a key strategy to arrive at this vital and circular energy positive built environment. Let's go to the next slide, Maria Sara. This is a very brief introduction of what we consider a modular product system, just to grasp the idea where we are taking as a key strategy to our Drive Zero project. And actually, as defined by in scientific literature, modularity is in essence a one-to-one mapping between functions and physical systems. And I will show you in a minute some examples of what we consider this very important examples of these modular product systems. So let's go to the next slide. Well, these modular product system in itself already are mentioned by various knowledge institutes as key strategies to arrive at a more circular and sustainable built environment. So it's not only that we define them in our project, but it's already in broader perspective identified as a key strategy to boost the sustainability overall. Let's go to the next slide, Maria Sara. And well, it's also important to address that it's not only the level of sustainability or circularity that is identified as a key advantage of modular product systems, but they have also some complementary advantages in the sense that we really can boost the efficiency of production, that we can also have more customer-oriented solutions because it facilitates a mass customized design process. So various bodies of literature are also addressing various complementary advantages related to a modular product system. So not only sustainable circular advantages, but also in terms of production efficiency and customization. Let's go to some examples. But before I do that, I want to also to highlight what is modularity is not, because modular products, they have also this definition of being off-site produced prefab elements. However, like examples like this here, these volumetric pots, this can be very much integrated systems at all. So they link various technologies together, hosting a complex set of functionalities. So this is something different. So this is only modular products viewed from prefab production perspective. So let's go to the examples which we indeed consider as modular product system. This one-on-one mapping of function and technologies. Anna already showed the example of Factory Zero in the Netherlands, that they produce these prefab HVAC engines, which you can simply install in housing. And there are various types of these modules for various types of housing units, which they can provide of all kinds of services. Well, another example is on the next slide, Maria-Sarah. Yeah, so you can see on the left side a modular bathroom pot which is industrially produced off-site and can easily be installed and connected to the building, but also can be taken out. In this example to the left, it's via the facade. These models can also be taken out and be replaced if necessary. On the right side, further two examples. It's the modular structural elements and also the facade modules enclosing the building. Yes, well, what we learned from a previous project, it is a super local project, also here in the Netherlands, is from a different program. But what we did here is we try to dismantle a building and try to build new housing out of recovered building materials. And then it's proven here that modularity is a very important concept there, because it was very complex, very expensive to take out parts of the building and to reuse them actually in new built housing units. So we succeeded, but it was very complex, very risky, and very complex. So here in this project, it was really proven that the opposite is true, that many buildings built so far are not modular at all, very hard to take apart, to harvest building materials, and to do something valuable with it. So let's continue, Maria-Sarah. I'm almost already at the end. This showcases, this is just to give you a small impression what actually is needed to do so. Very complex, expensive technologies to really achieve this. Let's continue. Yes, in this paper I'm referring to, I already identified various barriers, and I'm hopefully can contribute also to the discussion today based on previous research we conducted in this field in applying modular barriers and of modular products and the preconditions you need to meet in order to do so. yes, continue, because this was it in a very, very brief way. But I only had a couple of minutes to enlighten you about my ideas about modularity. Thank you, Maria Sarah.
It was very clear, really interesting how you can define modularity by not using a modular project like the example of the concrete reinforced building. And I think this already explain how much we can do if we start to work with modular system and provide more value to every component and building material. But then thank you for this teaser. We'll move on now with another one on the financial side, I would say, also of the industrialization of building facades. And Stefano, please give you the floor for.
Yeah, hi, thanks. In the meanwhile, I start. Can I try to share my screen, or do you prefer you do it? Just
I think it's easier if I do it, but yeah, unless you prefer it.
Okay, no, well, it's just two minor changes, but I will go with yours. Let's stay like this. Okay, so thanks for suggesting this topic. I think it's really crucial to deepen a bit, and I just want to launch you some reflections. So first, if you go to that slide, I say, okay, why are we talking about industrialization in the renovation? And so I think there are some interesting numbers that can explain a bit the story. If you go next slide, basically the labor productivity comparing construction and manufacturing is really two different, let's say, runs. 1% for the construction sector and 3.6 for the manufacturing. So one can ask himself, so why? So basically, so it seems like manufacturing has won some challenges and has managed to further progress. And so if we go next slide, we can see from many reports that there are facts for new construction for which basically in terms of speed of delivery, improvements, in terms of course also emissions, in terms of life cycle costings, and there are, let's say, new construction benefits for industrializing. And then I think single numbers can be read with more, let's say, relaxed at times. But it was nice to me to pick up some keywords from different analysis, let's say, and all the topic also besides quantitative indicator, also topics qualitative indicators like you know, a higher quality, fewer defects, or higher safety, wasting is also related to the potential of industrialization. If you go to the next slide, please, we can summarize them basically. Again, talking about safety, quality, about efficiency and speed, construction demolition waste, and of course also some economic, let's say, impacts in careers, partnership, and so on. I think we all are working in projects with these topics, so we are quite aware of that, but I just wanted to, let's say, get everyone basically on the same page. And if you go on, we can now see and just try to reflect on how basically there is an interesting potential that can answer some demands from the construction sector. Again, the need to prefabricate and so to have centralized production, the topic of mass production, repetitiveness, and on the other side also the need of standardized specialization, and the topic of specific say activities to be done, and integration of many phases into one. so I think was nice this table from a paper because let's say underlined this matching potential and demand within manufacturing and the construction. So I think one of the next slide, one of the most categorized definition, let's say, of connecting the topic of industrialization also is related to this modern method of constructions that brings in many different topics under the head of industrialization. So let's say 3D and 2D prefabrication of components, of systems, but also, for example, additive manufacturing. I think is a very, let's say, potentially innovative topic to be brought in, and also activities on site that could be improved with, let's say, simplified or improved products, but also with improved labor on site. I go maybe on the last section of the presentation. Yes, this is just a summary of what is then off-site and also on-site improvements. And with these two last slides, I want to highlight that for a retrofit, we are probably all at these pages. So we know which is the process for the, let's say, first generation of industrialized retrofit. But I think there are, if you go next slide, already on this some innovation that can be brought in. So in every phase, we can talk about more robotics, more use of drones, the needs to have shared data and data analysis tools that can really improve the whole process. Of course, we need the engagement from the very beginning of the process. And then many other, like the Scan2B, the having common design platform, design for assembling and disassembling, machinery, robotics, augmented reality and additive manufacturing, so on site. And then finally, all the topic of circularity. In the top bar of this, you see these yellow arrows to say that also from the models behind, we need we have huge potential. So the conclusion of my presentation is just to give, in the last slide, if you move on, please, Maria Sara. Yeah, I think we can, I have seen, I say in my mind, the idea that industrialization is finally an umbrella under which many potential developments can find perfect fit, and especially in the retrofit sector. So of course, digitalization, I think, is one of the key. Modularity, also it's very interesting. Of course, prefabrication is more something which have been in the last 10 years probably follow as mainstream, but also again, circularity, robotics, and I can just pick up many keywords from this slide. So again, the idea is that we have a very challenging playground for the retrofit, and industrialization can bring in many potentials, as I tried to summarize with this slide. So thank you, and yeah, looking forward for the discussion.
Thank you very much, Stefano. I think indeed our topic touched so many different areas that you explained well in one of the last slides, from digitalization to physical productions and user engagement. So I suppose we will go through these challenges. Now we'll see them coming back in the workshop. But let's move then on the actual activity that will involve all of you being active participants. So I will share the screen of the Miro board. So please start to enter and access the board. I see some of you already there. And we will kick off directly with the first exercise. So we have planned two exercises for the first part of the workshop, but given the time frame, we might probably just do one of them. So for this exercise, all the project contributors can work, and also attendees joining the platform but not belonging to the workshop. And the exercise consists in defining the key challenges mentioned during the presentation, and explain exactly how these challenges are composed. So this is a graph to explain a little bit how you can work with that. So what is the key challenge? Is it the maintenance of the kits, or is it a lack in training skills of the installers? And then what is composing this challenge? And go deeper a little bit in the barriers of each of the challenges, but very in a concise way. I would just number them. You see an example here above, and then define what is the nature of the challenge and the key stakeholder facing this challenge. And to finish off, you can assign a rating risk to this challenge. And if, let's say, you want it to be a medium risk, then just delete the other dots. So how does it work in Miro? For the one of you belonging to the project, you can simply edit the board. This should be unlocked. Okay, so you can write, for instance, directly in the board. And the same goes for the other boxes. Then for the workshop attendees that don't belong to this project, you can drop the challenge here in this space, and please use your tagged post-it for the workshop attendees that don't belong to the project, and write your name in it so we can track back the comments. So you can start filling up this table as I speak, and so you have approximately, I would say, 7 minutes, so we can try to speed it up on the next exercise. After you fill up this table, just drop the challenge you have identified in this timeline for the building process. So for instance, if your challenge dot from your tagged projects, it's like this, you can control and copy paste, and then you assign it to the stage in the process in which it belongs to. So for instance, upstream activity is what is ahead of the design process, the planning activities. Initiation, viability is more a planning stage. Then we have actual design of the project, construction and implementation, so the build up of the premises, and then operation and maintenance and end of life scenario. So you can simply drop the challenge to the stage it belongs to. And for some clarification more on the process stages, you can look at this table on the top right. So I hope everything is clear. So we can kick off with this exercise, and I would say you will have a total of 10 minutes to fill up these two, the table on the left and the timeline on the right, and then we can have a discussion. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry? Yes. You can use the chat. So it's 4:50 at 5 o'clock. We can start the discussion. from the chat, you should be able to edit.
So thank you everybody for being so active. As one of the co-organizers of this this workshop, I'm asked to already provide some comments on what we are doing here, and a little bit also in addition to my very short keynote. What we are doing in our projects, and that's also what I understand from the 5 of the 6 short introductions which we started this workshop, is that in these kind of projects we are very much focused on developing technological solutions to improve industrialization, to improve modularization, all in favor of really boosting the deep renovation of our building stock, or at least of the European building stock. And as with this focus, and sometimes in combination with also developing proper business cases, it's that we sometimes overlook what the impact is in the way we are conducting construction projects at all. And what we, for example, learned already from the Drive Zero project, but also one of the preceding projects like More Connect, that if you apply modular product systems, or you introduce a high level of industrialization, this has also implications for how the construction process itself is organized, and especially with the task responsibilities shifting through the construction supply chain. And so this also has far-reaching implications for the supply chain setups, and how stakeholders in the process need to collaborate. And for example, if in one of the demonstrators in the Drive Zero project, we are conducting the demonstrator without the involvement actually of a main contractor. So many of the responsibilities of the contractor are now covered by upstream producers of modular product systems, like the producer of these modular HVAC engines. So one of the barriers or set of barriers actually, which I like to introduce here, is that it's very complex to reset not only the technology development, but also the construction process and the supply chain setup. So if you feel that you need to reply to it, yeah, feel free. Or if it's unclear, I'm happy to discuss it a little bit further.
Thank you, John. I think everyone is busy with filling up the table and the detailed information of the challenges. But maybe an idea could be to go through some of these barriers and challenges, and let the project contributors elaborate on them. For instance, if we look at Drive Zero, we see that we have taxation of labor rather than raw materials, causing low competitiveness of recycled products compared to virgin raw materials, difficulty to obtain recycled material for reuse, mistrust for the performance of the materials. These look quite some big challenge. Anna, maybe you want to comment on this? You assign indeed high risk to this topic.
Can you hear me?
The microphone?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, one is elaborated based on John's keynote. The second one about the modularity. So what we see is issue that we also been discussing with external reviewers and our policy project advisor during the review meeting last Monday, and it's the the aspect of certifications. Like if you look at the modularity, if you zoom in, that certifications seem kind of a barrier for SMEs to enter the market because they're relatively costly, complex and lengthy processes. To obtain certification DC mark for modular products. And the second one, it's about the integration of products within the project. So that's also kind of complex, and the new value chain relationships that happen in those types of projects. So, and then what is the nature? It's related to product and process, and who is the mostly affected is, of course, the product manufacturers and also investors. Before I go to the upper challenge, circularity, Sean, do you have something to add?
No, this was also what I'm referring to or heading to with my comment a few moments ago. So this is something we need to solve in the end to really enter the market and get these technologies adopted beyond the demonstration projects or the demo cases in our Drive Zero project. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we were also discussing last Monday already about what kind of policy recommendations there could be to help solving these barriers. So I think that that's something that might change with change of policies. And then the circularity, of course, aspect, what I also mentioned in my presentation, is that taxation of labor is lower than taxation of raw materials, what causes that conventional solutions or conventional way of doing renovation is still more viable than circular renovations with recycled products. Compared to when using or extracting new materials, raw materials. Also, of course, with the current building practice, it's difficult to obtain recycled materials for reuse without having damaged materials or components. So the suitability of existing materials in existing building stock is, of course, questionable. And the third one is the mistrust with the performance of these recycled materials. That's where I mentioned the resistance of homeowners to decide actually for these solutions. And where we can see...
Anna, just to move from this detailed description of the barriers into the building timeline, then where would you actually locate this challenge? Are these, for instance, upstream stage activities, because we have the issues of like the certification of the products?
I think this is more, of course, upstream, more problems of the current market before you can even enter or penetrate with these solutions to existing market. Of course, we are dealing with innovative projects, so for us it's a bit different, but if you really think of scaling these type of projects or circular projects within the current market, there are way too many barriers at this moment to be competitive. So there have to be some changes to the current market, to legislation.
Yeah, what we are looking for is that if we see them in the light of construction and deep-renovation projects, yeah, we could frame this as kind of preconditions which need to be met before we even are be able to apply our modular and circular technologies in deep-renovation projects. So in this innovative demonstrators, there is this context is already in favor of these technologies, but we see that in regular deep-renovation projects, it's quite challenging to implement this, just simply because the preconditions are not there.
Yeah, so it's kind of a double-side challenge that somehow we need to address the market that is not ready there with the technology certification, and on the other side is the users, the people are not completely trusting this new technology. So that could be more in the actual construction line, maybe in the participatory activities that are ahead of the project or during the implementation. whether for the market is more an overarching barrier that is dictated by the current stage of the certification available. I think, Peter, you wanted to add something?
Not to add, but I see here that two projects, PLURAL and ENSNARE, address the issue of development of certain design tools. And I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on that. What kind of tools are lacking or do you need? That's my first question. And the second question, is this something that you also address and solve in your projects? Can anyone from PLURAL or ENSNARE comment on this?
Hello, can you hear me now? This is Peru.
Yep.
Yes, Peru, we can.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
Okay, I managed to find a micro to substitute my previous one, so let's try. Okay, so in the case of ENSNARE, that's right. As you said, we do expect to develop tools to support different stages of the renovation process, starting from the early stage. And I will try to. Yeah, can you see me now also?
Yep.
Better?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, much better. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the idea is to establish bridges to communicate, and it's also linked with the second challenge to establish bridges to communicate the stakeholders. So we do think that the technology needs to also evolve and be further developed, but we already have a lot of technology that is not matching right now. And when we want to bring everything together into a package, there's a lot of barriers regarding the different disciplines and expertise of the people in the field. And when, in our case, we are very focused on solar facades, on bringing renewable technologies to the envelope. So we do see that there are important, first in the language, they speak different language, the people dealing with PV photovoltaics and the people dealing with industrialized components, they don't speak the same language. What is a module for the PV manufacturer, it's not the same component as the one developing the facade. So that's why we do think that there's an important effort needs to be put on that, on establishing communication channels and on developing tools. So these tools are intended to support the process, and it's always based on BIM principles so that they work collaboratively under one single model that is continuously being updated, and to avoid duplicities and sending files that are not properly traceable and so on. So that's the main approach, and the idea is to give that support at different stages. First, roughly during the decision stage, then designing, and the final stage is the elaboration of a digital twin. That is it's a task that is already also developed by a colleague here, IES, who is also present in this session.
Peru, if I may comment, what do you, it's still not very clear to me what you see as a design tool. Is it a kind of ICT application within a BIM environment, or because it's you mentioned that it is quite hard for industrial component suppliers and PV suppliers to connect technologies, to integrate them. So that would, in my impression, it would not so much be the design tools, but more like design guidelines, or how do you say it, a set of standards which need to be developed to mix and match technologies. How do you see that?
Okay, the design tools are oriented towards designers. So we understand the designer is the architect and so on. That's one phase. So it's the architect. We are promoting these technologies that are innovative and so on in the architect's field. So it's a web-based design tool, and it has different levels of definition. So during the initial approach, when the decision to renovate is not already taken, it's more to orient the decision. And later on, when the specific project needs to be defined, the tool should support the development of the renovation project. So that's for the designers. Then when we speak about different languages between the manufacturers and industrials and so on, that's a previous step. When we are developing an overall platform to establish communication channels between not just with the architects and designers, but with different actors in the value chain, so that we intend to interconnect or establish connection between them.
Yeah, because I envision of what I learned from our experience from Drive Zero, and that's something I also like to learn from you in your project is these component or module suppliers, they need to connect their technologies so that's at their level, and then they need to supply designers, architects with some knowledge, with some inputs, in such a way that they can really apply the technologies within in a project in a project designs.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So how are you doing? How are you dealing with that? How is it looking in your project?
Well, right now we are in the initial steps of the project, but the initial issues or barriers that we have identified are those, the different languages between different expertise fields, so that we need to, when we want to condense everything into a single product or a solution, we have to establish a common language, a common framework to define what is a component, what is a module, what is. So that's the initial phase. We do foresee that once we reach an understanding between all the agents and so on, we can then clarify how the technology performs and what is the expected behavior of the solution, and then is when we can promote the innovative solutions outside the consortium and with interested people that we would like them to use this type of technologies, integrating everything in a single solution or system more than a solution.
Okay, thank you, Bill.
Thank you very much,
welcome.
John and Peru. Indeed, we tackle the issues of communication within the product developers and the owners, also manufacturer and the installers of these kits, of these products. And it's probably an iterative process that it's not only part of one stage in the building line, but will be indeed kind of fine-tuned throughout the development of the implementation of the products, as I can understand from Peru comment. But now let's look a little bit at the timeline of our project design process. It looks to me that we have challenges throughout the stages, but with some major action, let's say, to be taken in the initiation viability part and construction and implementation. Surprisingly, we don't have many end-of-life scenarios barriers. I see some comments from Stefano, warranties and liability to be provided to owners, and market exploitation design tool from ProGETonE. But would be interesting, I think, to see also maybe because why there aren't many challenges there. Is it maybe because we didn't arrive to that stage yet and we haven't experienced so many challenges there? But on that note, I would ask you to then start to follow up on the next exercise and map these barriers and challenges according to their typological um, category. So you can simply copy paste the challenge that you have in the building timeline and bring them to the type of challenge you encounter. So it is more regulation related, political barrier, or is more related to the geometry of the building, the fact it's a complex building, maybe deep renovation is not possible because of constraints in monumental value, or barriers due to cost times. So try to find the areas that your challenge belongs to, and if there is no category that you can identify, you can add it. You can add it on the other circle, so we can start to see where the what type of major barrier occur, and you have about 3 minutes for that, and then probably we can go on a break, and we pick it up after that.
Maria, in the meantime, I also want to ask a question to somebody from the PLURAL project, because I was going through their input in the Miro, and what I learned there is they have identified a key challenge with respect to the lack of knowledge, and in its sub challenge they commented that there is no market demand. So maybe they can specify a little bit more how these two issues are connected, because I envision them as two separate challenges. So maybe somebody from PLURAL can elaborate how they experience this challenge.
What we say is that at the moment, key stakeholders in the value chain are not fully aware of the available solutions. So this creates a situation where there is no market demand. Unless you inform the key stakeholders, you cannot create a market for new solutions, let alone the technological challenges. So what we are saying is that this kind of projects like the ones that we are doing are very important in demonstrating and showcasing the new developments in terms of all the especially in the public sector, get to know the new solutions. So this is for us one challenge and a barrier for the challenge is to develop tools to train and inform the key stakeholders, and the barrier is that at the moment they do not know about the new solutions, and they are not convinced of their viability, and for this reason they decide not to adapt them. So I believe that there is still a lot of work to be done in terms of validating the solutions, especially what we call second generation solutions, the solutions that combine the prefabricated facade renovation solutions with energy production and storage. These still need to be further validated from all the aspects, technological, economical, social acceptance, environmental aspects, and pass the word to a broad audience in order to convince them about the viability of this kind of solutions.
Okay, I have some questions. Very, very interesting. I believe that you are very true that sharing this knowledge is important to boost market demand. But what, in your opinion, is the market here? Is this, for example, contractors buying these products from supplier, or is it this building owners? What do you consider market here?
You mean the business opportunities? If you mean about the business opportunities, we believe that there is a need for development of totally new business models. As Peru mentioned previously, at the moment, there is a difficulty in communication between the different stakeholders. As an example, the way I understand it, there is a triangle. For instance, the architect, the energy system manufacturer, and the facade component manufacturer. Those three key actors, from my understanding, they design their products, especially the energy producers and the facade manufacturers, to meet specific requirements. When you try to match those two with the help of the architect that has to be able to understand the requirements of each specific building, those three actors do not really at the moment speak the same language. First of all, there is an understanding that whatever we design, is at the building level. When you go to renovate or retrofit an existing building with an integrated prefabricated solution, you don't look at the entire building, you look at the specific requirements of the space that you want to renovate, whether this is an apartment, this is a facade, a wall, or whatever else. So you have to change, first of all, your design approach, and at the same time develop manufacturing procedures that match the specific requirements of this partial level of the building, as well as energy systems and facade components that are designed and manufactured to meet these demands. So all this creates a new business model that I believe that has to be based on a new type of collaboration between the different stakeholders. And if we manage to do this, this will create significant market opportunities. I don't know if I answered your question.
Well, yes, partially because your framework is very complex. There are many variables you need to steer it to achieve this. So I'm very just curious how you disentangle this complex framework, and how in your project you are developing the solution to really boost not only the market potential but also the market demand in the end. So in this end, I'm also curious how you're really gonna engage with all these stakeholders in your projects.
In short, the answer is digitalization, advanced IT tools, platforms that can help the different players come together and understand each other. This is what I think as a first step. I would probably disagree with you in terms of the market demand. The market is there. We don't know how to approach it and how to convince the owners to adapt the solutions. The market for me is the requirement for innovation.
Maria, thank you for your comments. I think we need to close it here for now, because we've been on 2 hours long now of on the presentation and the workshop. We can pick it up after a short break, so we can leave everyone have quick coffee or a break, and then we come back, and we can pick it up from there on the framework, and where this market demands is not there, according to Maria. So we thank you everyone for joining also the mapping the barriers exercise. I see already they're popping up some of the challenges. we will come back in 10 minutes and we will discuss this exercise and move into the next one, which is about the solutions. So see you in 10 minutes. Hello, everyone. We are back. I hope you can hear me. So let's see. We updated the agenda for the second part of the workshop. So in order to manage to complete the exercise and gathered as much data and feedback from you as possible, we will skip the teaser for the second part of the workshop that was planned in, and we move directly into exercise 3. That I will explain in a moment. And then at the end of the second part, also Peru can explain the project that we didn't manage to do it in advance. So while I see colleagues are already kind of almost done with the previous exercise on the barrier, let's start with exercise 3. I quickly explain the rules here. We go from highlighting the barriers, some that were also mentioned by Maria and by John, by Anna before. So possibly the no market demands of some products, and the issues of miscommunication within product developer and users of the circular products, and the retrofit in general. How can we overcome these barriers that we identified in the second exercise? What are the strategies? You can drop these solutions, let's call it general strategies or more technical. Feel free to be quite specific also on the strategies, and we will kind of zoom out at the end on the most important strategies. But for now, you can copy-paste your sticky notes in this area and drop as many strategies to overcome the barriers as possible. Once you do that, don't forget to click on the note. And if you go, let me see if I can do it from here. Edit. I'll show you. You can change the color of the note based on the type of solution you have identified. Is this there is a color code on the right side, so legal, political in yellow, geometry, technical, or building. Oops, I see someone is moving the main board, so we lock it right now. And you can change the color according to this color code on the right. So we will have already a sort of map of by color of the barriers. So you can start with this exercise and write your solution here. And in the meantime, you can also add here the key players of the solution. So who can solve these barriers, and just drop the name of the stakeholders or the owners, the users, and we can map them too. So you have about 10 minutes to start with this exercise. And in the meantime, I don't know if John maybe wants to comment on the previous results. For
sorry, Maria Sara. So not anymore the colors related to the projects, right?
Yes, you can copy-paste your note. So although the note of your tagged company has a color, you might just change here by clicking on the dots, and you assign for instance, the color that belongs to that type of solution.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Just you can find the most similar color. Doesn't need to be exactly the same. Okay. So now it's 5:45, so in 10 minutes we will catch up with this exercise. John or Anna, did you find some interesting comments and barriers in the previous exercise? Do you have some comments there?
To give a head start in this discussion, and also already looking to the direction we are heading, is that I already learned that they need a little bit more exploration, I believe, but I'm thinking that some of the barriers are more or less common, and that's yeah, maybe some of the barriers also need further specification, and I believe that some of the projects are really in the early stages. So with the advancement of the project and the solutions they are developing, I think that also the barriers become more precise, and that we can more precisely define that. So yeah, two main already conclusions from this exercise is that, yeah, there are, I think, some common barriers, that each of the six which are general for each of the projects, and that also that some of the barriers still needs more further specification.
Are there many similar barriers that you have seen, or they're kind of very project specific?
Yes, I'm going not just through that right now, but I'm not sure. I'm still exploring it. In what sense they are common, or are they referring in the same direction, or are they just more? Yeah, sometimes it's hard to learn it from the sticky notes. But I have the idea. I'm under the impression that some are really linked, or even duplicating each other. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out how this is. Yeah, which direction this is going. So yeah, maybe I can comment about that in a few moments.
Let's have a proper look then at
Yeah.
the feedback from everyone.
Yeah, I can already make some. So there is, I think there is a really strong belief, but that's also I learned from our previous projects which I took part. Is also there is a strong belief that that ICT and is also yeah, it's maybe a barrier, but also part of the solution. So
what do you mean for ICT? More a data management system, or really the BIM platform behind the integrated solutions?
Yes, so both, I think. Yeah, so the application of BIM-based solutions to really integrate various knowledge fields to really combine the knowledge experience of various stakeholders to really cover some of the deep renovation barriers. So that's something what still need to be developed, or is yet under developed maybe. So in that sense, it's still a barrier, but it's also in other direction also a strategy to really link various knowledge fields from different stakeholders. So in that sense, it is both. And so yeah, I'm really curious, and this is one of the examples that I was referring to. It's sometimes not very specific. What is there in there? What's the barrier linked to the ICT tools? Which I refer to. ICT is referred to in more in general perspective. So I'm very curious. What is the specific barrier? What needs to be addressed? And also from a strategies, hopefully this can become more clear. In what sense can ICT solutions be a key strategy to overcome some of the deep innovation challenges?
Yeah, indeed, these are kind of sub barriers that needs to be identified within the big challenge of how integrated the BIM system could work.
And yeah, if I may add something, is that also that what I learned is also from it's also convincing. It's convincing also the stakeholders beyond the project about the solutions which were developed. Convincing that there are really nice solutions to boost deep innovation, and then you also need objective measures or indicators which really can showcase What we are doing, that's really a technical, financial, business case oriented solution to achieve this deep innovation boost. So because yeah, you can promise, okay, we have a nice solution. How are you gonna prove this beyond the scope of your own project? So objective measures, indicators to showcase this could be also very beneficial. And maybe so this is also rooted to the ICT applications which are considered in the projects.
Yeah, so kind of also the communication topic that we mentioned before with Pero is kind of an underlying barrier also to the
Yeah.
uptake of these systems.
Yes, and of course, and because I learn, I read several places to boost, to get technology adopted at a large scale, market. These are really, how to say it, these holistic terms. But then still, in how do you connect with market? How do you connect beyond with stakeholders beyond your own projects? And so, what kind of platforms do you use, or what kind of strategies do you apply? Yeah, for example, because I think it also that convincing, proving, connecting technologies, and is not something you what's in ICT or what's in the technology, but what's in people. So how you're gonna connect people together. So this is something I'm also curious about how this is solved. And of course, ICT can be an intermediating tool, but yeah, working together, that's it's a human task. So this is I maybe miss at some points how what's the role of human interaction.
And maybe we've seen a barrier coming up often, which is the one of the updated business models for the deep renovation. Could that be a direction for the uptake of these solutions? Maybe Peter, you have some experience with circular business models, and there's something you want to add to this topic?
Circular business models is, of course, something very new and in a way also very disruptive. At this, I don't have that many experience yet in it, just because it's new, but it is definitely one of the key issues that we address in Drive Zero. It's we have a special work package on it, and yeah, what we also see is that there is a very interesting connection between circular business models, also some limitations due to standards and regulations in relation to product development. As an example, one of the topics that we discussed was, for example, can you develop facades as a service, not as a product, but as a service, so that you can lease a facade or something like that for deep renovation. But for example, in the Netherlands, that's not possible due to the law, because it has to be fixed to a building. But if you have certain smart connectors that you make it easily mountable and dismountable, then maybe it could solve a problem. So there's really a strong relation to product development and circular business development.
Thank you, Peter. And yeah, I would say also country-specific regulations, right? Because they do affect the type of strategies that can be implemented, like the facade as a service. That also came up often in in the project Infinite. Stefano has done some research in that. Maybe you want to comment on this? Is a feasible model, or is there some experience there yet, or we still need to explore it from scratch? Stefano is there, but maybe not at the moment. So let's ask him when he's back. In the meantime, I see that the exercise 3 is kind of filling up. We are kind of done with the time, so we can go through some solutions now. So let's see what are the propositions then. We have these color codes being used. So we can actually see what is the typology of the solution. See some relating to training skills. So some solution could be new training content and methodology, standardization of process, ICT tools to establish communication channels. Let's see, I see more blue popping up from ProGETonE. Informative platforms to facilitate the integration of new technologies. Solution and strategy. So on one side also the training skills development, but on the other one platforms available for information. And co-design tools. Can someone from ProGETonE elaborate on this? So what is a co-design tool?
Yes, hello.
Yeah.
As we are trying with ProGETonE to, for example, we are creating this application that it's going to be an interactive connection among the end users and the project managers and the architects, where you can promote some solutions to the end users, and then they can decide which one they want according to cost, energy efficiency, material, and everything. So it's kind of a process that having this co-design and this social inclusiveness could give you the result that it's going to be acceptable from all. Then this could be also not the same tool, but other similar tools. It could be expanded also as a guideline for the community. For example, the social houses or the public buildings, in order to have to facilitate the process and be connected with the local regulations and local key stakeholders. So it's going to be a platform with the integration of all the key actors, let's say.
So indeed, you have mentioned a co-tool between different stakeholders, and these are the one that you envision, like end users, but also architects that should be involved, engineers, researchers. So it's different stakeholders, but
yes,
the co-design tool change according to the, let's say, the type of stakeholders that are involved, but do you think it could be the same tool but just adapted for the communication?
For now, what we are experimenting, it's the same tool but with different, let's say, access and for example, the designers and the researchers, and they have more flexibility and access to work on it because they have all the relevant information to do it, while it is more a communicative tool for the end user, but still have a choice. So there is an interaction. It's like a dialogue, more or less, in this aspect of design, which we mostly don't take under consideration, mainly what the user wants.
Yeah,
sometimes, yeah.
When you communicate to certain targets, user or co-designers, then, for instance, end user are more interested in certain end value things than rather than the process, maybe. Whether architects and engineers would need to be involved for other aspects, and they would need also different type of visualization. I can imagine. Okay.
Sabit?
Yeah.
I'm back? Okay.
Yes. Do you want to add something else to these training skills solutions?
No, I'm okay from my side.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's see if we can type of solution.
Maria Sara, sorry, I've heard you were asking me something. I was in an urgent call on my mobile, so I'm back. Sorry. If you want to repeat, otherwise, of course, I can.
No, sorry. Yeah, I saw it later that your camera was switched off. But the question was about the facade as a service. If this is an actual current solution in that you have experience in a live project, or there is more something that needs to be built from scratch in terms of business models and option for the development of the industrialized kit.
No, so in this sector, we have never seen so much the application. I mean, in the retrofit one, we are studying this. We have studied that for more like curtain wall style buildings and multifunctional envelopes. So in general, for multifunctional envelopes, it fits. Because of course you added the topic of performances related to the multiple performance related to one single element. So this is a bit what I've written there. So foster the creation of new business roles and of course also business models as a solutions. And I see this a lot in the hands of course, either general contractor or technology providers. I do believe that also in the deep retrofit, this might really be a key, but I mean, it has to be explored more quantitatively. I think there was a project in Germany, I think, if I remember right, where they were saying, okay, I do this deep renovation, at a fixed cost. And then they were bearing all the let's say the cost, and they were able in different kind of buildings to know, okay, some buildings will be a bit more costly for me, and in other I will be on safer side. So I mean, I think there is a lot to try there, and in Infinite, as one of the last actions in 4 years, I really hope we will be able to build, I would call it, I don't know, hard facts database, and say just to really link experiences also to the topic of cost, because this could be really enlightening new business to pop up, new new enthusiasm, let's say, for companies to invest in such industrialized retrofit, which theoretically allows really to control much better the performance, so it would really fit an envelope for survey logic.
Yeah, indeed, it's an interesting solution and strategies. As before, Peter was saying while you weren't away, where you were away, that in Netherlands, for instance, there are restrictions in what you can do with the facade of the building, so you cannot actually lease it as it is, but because of the building regulations. So probably this is a topic that needs to be tackled as well. If the policies that are in place do allow this type of solutions, and that could change from country to country.
Yeah, if may I add, Maria, what I find as a really great challenge to all the projects that now we are facing, since we are at the end of the project and the other projects are starting up, and they have all these interesting products and services. Apart from the policies that I see that the majority of what we are doing is mainly focused on the legal and the political challenges and barriers. It's what Stefano mentioned. It's necessary. One of the greatest challenges, I think, it's to end up with a strong story of a business model. Because the financial upfront costs and all these incentives that we have lack of them for the investments, it's a really issue and a big problem to tackle for all these innovative projects. So the storytelling of the business model should be really, really strong, and it's something that we are facing, and it's difficult to overcome. I think this is something very interesting that we will all see at the end of the projects when we'll have all the results. It's one of the biggest challenges in my point of view, as we have seen throughout the projects that you are dealing at the end. This package is the most, let's say, critical one.
Yes, so Anastasia, thank you very much. It's indeed so storytelling of the industrialization, not as a cheap way to upgrade the building fabric, but as a more qualitative system. So maybe the type of statement behind this industrialization system needs to be emphasized or
Hmm.
Yeah,
structured to make sure they're clear to who is going to
Yeah.
implement the systems.
yeah, Maria
In
Sara,
terms,
just
yeah, in
just a
terms of
comment.
stakeholders, yeah,
No, just on this very short, in Italy, everyone knows about this 110% incentives for deep, I wouldn't call it deep retrofit, but the problem is for retrofit. And the problem is that it's quite unlinked to quality. So really, again, the storytelling, it's really a huge potential to say, okay, we are not really just looking for incentive for renovation in general. We want deep renovation, quality renovation, long-lasting renovation, and not just you get the incentive, you renovate, you change windows, you put insulation of the roof on the facade, but who really with this incentive is taking care of quality? And so I mean, this might be really a storytelling as something to be really maybe also studied a bit deeper with artifacts to brought in I think a relevant a central topic. Sorry, just a comment on that.
yeah. Thank you very much, Stefano. It's yeah, it seems that we are going into the direction of the communication then at the basis of the industrialized systems, and now wonder then who is that can let's say act and uh, and solve or help in communicating this better. Of course, we say always it starts from everywhere, and anyone needs to be very active in this communication. But let's see a little bit in this table of the key players who can implement the strategies for to overcome the barriers. Um, let's see, John, did you see something interesting in this table? We don't hear you yet.
Yes, I'm still going through all the post-its. So and not yet. It's for me not always very clear. Yeah, for the strategies to overcome the barriers, how the players are involved. So that's still for me something not very clear. Now, for example, often in many cases there is solutions are related to the government, but the government can take various roles. They can be clients to create a demand. They can policymakers. They can adjust taxes. They can provide network platforms in which people can connect to connect industry with clients. So it's. I think this can be very further specified. And also, if you are, for example, address clients, yeah, there are so many various types of clients. It also depends. If the client is a building owner, is that a company or is it a private building owner, for example, a homeowner? So I think this is, yeah, and this is very key to make the strategies work in that sense that they can overcome the barriers addressed in the previous assignment.
Yeah, indeed. So there are different type of clients that could be like governments could be client, but could be also the policymaker. So it's depends on the discussion how the role are spread. But then here I can see there are many policymakers notes and let's see knowledge institutes, educational programs, network agency, some consultants, software developers, act as a lobby, defining common processes, authorities, regulators. So it seems that it's a split within policymakers and government bodies, and some parties also designers belonging to architects or software developers. So a bit of a mix. On this note, I would like to move on to the next exercise. So we are coming to the last part of the workshop, in which we start to frame the strategies of to overcome the barriers in the timeline in the future. First of all, this exercise is split into parts. The first part is about assigning the solutions to your projects. So by let's say shopping around within the solutions you have developed in the previous tab, could you copy paste and add the relevant solution to your project? So we can see actually if also from other projects you can pick up some strategies to solve certain challenges that you encounter in your projects. So this is the first part, and I would say about 5 minutes to kind of go through the strategies and assign it to your project. So they're here in column. So find your column and add the sticky notes there. Then once you've done that, we can look at the timeline of the deep renovation. So we have here 3 columns, one for the most urgent strategies to be implemented. So the kind of basic strategies without which we cannot go ahead with the deep renovation. Then in the next 5 years, what we see should be implemented, and in the next 10 to 20 years, maybe this is more related to technology development or market changes or building regulations. So you have also other 5 minutes for this, and then we can discuss the results. So I would say at 6:20 to discuss the final remarks on the timeline and strategies. If in the meantime there are questions or consideration you want to bring up, feel free to comment.
Sorry, Marisara. So I have to take from the box of the strategies and solutions just the one I've written, and I have just to put it in the infinite columns, basically. Or can I?
Can you speak a bit louder? We cannot hear you very well.
Yeah, sorry. No, the question is if I have to add new solutions that are will be achieved in the project, or just taken the one that I've written there in the strategies box and added in the project. So can I pick also from other project? I mean,
yes,
or is just
from other project as well. But yeah, try to use the ones that you have already seen, and if you
okay. Yes.
new strategies, you can also add them. Just
Okay.
use the sticky note with your tag. But
Okay.
yeah, just remember to copy paste and not directly drag the strategy, so we can still keep the overview on the barriers on the solutions there.
Yes, if you post the sticky notes into the framework, well, there are only 6 circles in each project, but some of the concepts or some of the suggested solutions are of course also related. So if you find related solutions, just bring them together around one circle in beneath your project. So within the Infinite project, I see in a couple of sticky notes which are which are posted close to each other. Is there a reason why this is done, or is it just by accident?
I'm just rearranging.
Okay. Yeah.
No, actually, I get just a bit confused because some sticky notes, as in all the sticky notes in the bottom left, just the name of the project, and so I don't understand how, if I have to keep also the one that are not in the red box, the name of the Infinite or not. For me, it's very fine because we are talking about also that solutions in the project, but that's why I was aggregating a bit to read everyone, every notes in at once.
It's a bit up to you how you want to add the solutions to the project. But the idea behind this exercise is to see if solutions that were triggered by other project contributors could be applied to I don't know, ProGETonE or StepUp, and see how we can find similar solution across the different projects. So you can bring up your, let's say, the solution you already are developing within Infinite, but I think it would be even more interesting to look at if similar solution or new solutions can be
Thanks.
used.
Yeah.
That maybe you haven't thought of so far, or that were not considered before. But
And I would say also some things are not necessarily in scope of the project. Like for us, we for StepUp, NCA is not a big topic, but if other projects are focusing on that, the framework that has a full cycle assessment methodology for industrialized products, that's a beneficial, in the broader sense.
Indeed, so you might find solutions that could be a bit broader or could be a bit narrower into in more in detail, then it could be still be applicable. Let's see, maybe we can go through StepUp. See, we have from Drive Zero new training content and methodology. Develop IT tools, decouple design, manufacturing assessment. This is similar to what we discussed before, these co-design tools. Developing new PMP connectors, plug and play connectors. Political motivation for market uptake for innovative solutions, national EU incentives. We see that this also goes in another project, so political incentives in Drive Zero.
In PLURAL too, it's pretty popular. And there too, yes.
Sorry, this
it's a pretty common one. I could say it in the plural column as well.
So indeed, it
The same
applies
one, the
to
incentives.
many of the projects. Sometimes it could be that
And
applicable to all
ProGETonE as well.
the projects. I can see also some comments on creating pioneer example to be promoted by local authorities as the object of desire for the end user clients. Can someone comment on this? Would this be a sort of storytelling solution?
Yeah, I would say like the reason why for me this was attractive, like from the point of view of StepUp, is that each of us has, 1, 2, 3 pilots, but all of us together, we have 30, we have 15, 20 pilots. Those make a bulk. And as Peter was saying before, this is second generation. There's been projects that have done this before. So there is a wealth of expertise in this. And yet every time, still when you go and present these, they're seen as really innovative solutions or like entirely new and untested. But there's actually a lot of experience at European level. A lot of work has been done, and so I don't know if it's about creating shared materials that show these solutions being applied to show the viability and the actual applicability of these solutions as a and these are all state of the art. There's dozens of projects that are top level, like in that sense of like making it desirable. It's not just a renovation; it's the best renovation you can do. It's a premium. It's a I think that could be a narrative that makes sense as a cluster of projects.
For example, sorry, Maria. For example, in ProGETonE, where this kind of solution, it was a little bit beyond of the standards and extreme solution for the local regulations and stuff. We were lucky that because we are doing it in the campus of the university, there was the involvement of, there was a lot of political involvement and also bureaucratic, let's say. We skipped some problems because of that, because they saw that this could work as an exemplary building for the other buildings of the campus. So that's why we're saying the object of desire. I mean, if you get it as an example, then it's easier to have the storytelling we were saying before. So for us, for ProGETonE, it was an actual outcome. That's why I wrote it, and I think it's working a lot if you promote correctly.
Yeah.
So in some projects, this could be a trigger to actually implement the deep renovation processes. So to implement a new technology, something that is not proven yet in the market, something that's the end users or the investor want to really try out and put energy in. So it's about communicating this desire of pioneering, as you were saying before. Okay, then I would say let's have a look at our timeline, so we can see what are the main strategies to be addressed in the short term, in the long term, and then we can finalize this workshop. I can see from now and 2022, we have some comments on heavily introduced standardized LCC and LCA methods and KPIs, financial economical incentives, creation of circular networks to push cross-sectoral collaboration. I see a lobby here. Maybe Stefano wants to elaborate more. What do you intend to say with that? Stefano, we cannot hear you.
Yeah, sorry. Now?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. So I think the topic is that we need to, let's say, foster the support and now in a quantitative way the way we evaluate the industrialization against the benchmark. And so I do believe this is part of, and could also benefit from being, from finding common methodologies there, let's say as a cluster of projects, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's in the same line of what we discussed before in terms of really getting to convincing actually the of the effectiveness of these systems more in the it's yeah, not about only energy efficiency but pushing also on the, let's say, side benefits of this implementation.
Yeah.
That are not so side probably. Then we have in the next 5 years more strategies coming in, like reducing labor taxes to make recycling more competitive. So it's more like market related. New training content and methodology is coming on. Creation of certification frameworks. And in the next 20 years, we have only one note: reorganization of value chain with new business models. Maybe this is something that, yeah, it's across the whole timeline. It's not only in the 20 years from now. John, do you want to comment on these results?
Yeah, I think this is something we could expect. Yeah, I think this is also if we go back from the longer the long transition we need to make. Yeah, I think this reorganization of the value chain and how we conduct business in the construction sector. That's something what need to be overturned, and that's probably something which take 20 years. And some specialists in transition theory said, "Oh, that takes over 50 years to achieve that." So I think, yeah, this is true. That this is something really for the long term. In the intermediate term, yeah, I think this is very true. Developing educational programs and also to develop the proper tools for really. Applying also the solutions we are developing. Yeah, I think this kind of issues are really in the intermediate period. And to me, it seems that in the very short notice, it's about staying connected and sharing knowledge and boosting interest among the various stakeholders. That's something what still is ongoing, and that's what we need to really also develop. What we want to develop in each of the projects. So yes, I think it makes sense in what I can learn from this framework. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, John. I'm looking at the time, and I think that it's now time also to wrap up. Sorry that we had to skip 2 presentations because of all these technical issues that we had, so we're really sorry for that. But before we end, I would like to ask from Sinia Anna Simbagas if you want to give a reflection from the side of the Commission, just a short reflection what you thought of this session, and if it could be useful also for the Commission. Anna, are you still there? Maybe not.
She's writing in the chat.
I will look.
But she's still not part from the moderator panel, so I'm not sure if she's allowed to use her mic.
Okay, that could be. Yeah, I didn't think about this. Yeah, sorry. This this platform that we have to use has so many limitations, so I was not aware of that. I'm very sorry. What we are going to do anyway, we promised for a long wrap up of 50 minutes. We are not going to do that. What we are going to do is make an analysis of this workshop, especially of what we did in the Miro board, and I do this together with Maria Sarah. Thank you, Maria Sarah, for the excellent moderation. It was a hell of a job, I must say, but the Miro part went flawless. And also with Sean van Oorschot, so the two moderators and I will make kind of analysis and make a note of that in the form of minutes or something like that, so that you can also reflect on that. As already said in the beginning, in the introduction, finally we want to come to a white paper about this, where we have put in our findings on the challenges, the market barriers, and the possible solutions. So let me thank you all for staying with us for 3 hours. It was a long session, but we really did a lot, and I think that we have an excellent overview of everything that you achieved already with your projects and how we can continue in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you for organizing and participating.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you also for the organization.
Thank you very much.
It was nice.
Yes, we can all have access to Miro for a while to use the data we produce. So I think that's a good resource area we have now. But then, thank you for the active participation. And yes, we'll discuss more the paper in the later weeks. Thank you all. Have a good evening then.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Maria Sarah. Great job today.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Nice to meet you. Bye-bye.
Maria Sara, a curiosity, but how many people sitting there?